Sales and marketing alignment when it comes to B2B is so important. And making sure that they're on the same page and collaborate is like the key to success, I always say.
As we advance this concept of the customer journey, it's not just sales that is driving revenue for the organization. Marketing plays a significant role in forming the early parts of a customer journey. Prospecting at this point is realistically it's trying to grab the attention of someone. Email, cold calling, LinkedIn, texting, event invites, you name it. A sales rep will try. Even going all the way down to snail mail is still used to just get a message in front of customers.
I can't emphasize enough how important that brand perception is in putting everything that goes into or in front of your customer or into the kind of public sphere. Making sure that that is perceived strongly is so important. And that's something that marketing definitely helps build and create, and sales helps to deliver. Welcome back to another episode of the Marketing Breakdown. In this episode, Alex Pepper from Softchoice joins us to talk about B2B sales and marketing tactics that win. So we'll be sharing ways that marketing and sales can effectively collaborate together to win business in B2B specifically. So Alex Pepper joins us as somebody who has been in sales for over a decade, both working in Salesforce and at Softchoice. He brings a wealth of knowledge and experience and currently is in leadership positions. Welcome, Alex.
Thank you very much for having me on here today, Melissa. I look forward to having this chat with you.
Of course. We've actually never met before. So where are you calling in from?
All of 20 feet away? Quite literally a single floor separates us for this conversation.
All right. Well, if you haven't guessed it, Alex is also my husband and has, like I said, a wealth of knowledge when it comes to sales. I lean on him a ton for my own business just because of the expertise that he has. But I digress. Alex, tell us and everyone else a little bit about your history.
Happy to. So I have been in the IT community for going on a little bit over a decade at this point, split between two very different organizations, Softchoice and Salesforce. I think a lot of people are familiar with who Salesforce is, but not Softchoice. I'll talk a bit about them, which I think will equip listeners to better understand my perspective for some of these things during the call. But Softchoice is an IT solution provider. What we really do is help organizations, IT teams become more agile, innovative, and secure. We do this by designing, procuring, implementing, and even helping to manage complex IT solutions across cloud, workplace, and security solutions.
Awesome. And you've been in sales for a number of years. What first got you interested in sales to begin with?
That's a fantastic question because I got to rewind my life a little bit over a decade ago. I think it was a collaboration of two different unique aspects of my personality. I went to University of Waterloo where I took a lot of math classes. And then if I track back to high school, I took a lot of dramatic arts. And believe it or not, there's not a lot of places where drama and math really overlap well together. But sales, surprisingly, was that particular role that I could do it in because I got to talk to people, I got to emote, I got to evangelize, and I got to convince people on solutions, which is heavily weighing on that drama background. But then I got the opportunity to understand business problems, understand the cost impact of those issues, and build out ROI, which really helped leverage that math side. So as much as it might seem like a weird background to have, it really came together and made me a very successful salesperson over the course of the last decade or so.
Right on. Yeah, those are two different backgrounds that you wouldn't necessarily think would fit together in a role today, but I can definitely see it having a really positive impact in a sales role. So, thank you for sharing more about your background. I'm actually going to dive in because sales and marketing alignment when it comes to B2B is so important. And making sure that they're on the same page and collaborate is like the key to success, I always say, for marketers in B2B. So, you've led sales teams for many years. What collaboration models between sales and marketing have you found work best?
It's a good and very interesting question. Because I would say, as a rep, And as a leader of reps, the typical consensus that we have is that we don't collaborate well. It's often because this misconception that sales has from an understanding perspective of what marketing does, we typically are reductive in our view in that they are mass mail and occasionally bring us leads. We don't get to see the full picture of what marketing does because we get containerized into the sales world. So we
Mm.
don't see how they help us define what our market is. They don't help us cascade that market into buying groups. We don't see how marketing takes those buying groups and then makes decisions about how our go to markets can influence the journeys that our customers have with us. And then from there, how do we break down the effort that our sales and marketing team should be doing together from a collaboration perspective so that we can assist those customers through that entire journey? So, a big area of focus, especially for businesses as they get larger, is ensuring that you constantly have those areas of connection. A lot of businesses are moving towards a more RGM or revenue generating team, which has marketing and sales together in it, which gives a lot more visibility into both sides of the fence. And then a lot of other businesses are also starting to establish centers of excellence where organizations have frontline individuals from many teams, but in this case, we'll say from marketing and sales, which gives better visibility and creates advocates across both divisions so that it's not just senior leadership that's working together to define visions and goals. It's those end of the line people who can be your biggest advocates for marketing and sales. So, that's key areas about how we can just evangelize the work of the two sides are doing. I would say a couple things that our company does particularly well, and historically with all companies I've worked at has done very well, is ensuring consistency across the messaging that we are going out with our customers.
Mhm.
Sales people, by virtue of who we are, we tend to try and push boundaries. We often try to color outside the lines, which creates differing customer experiences. Marketing can provide those guardrails by having consistent brand, content, decks to ensure, as much as possible, salespeople are reeled in from going outside the lines and maybe outside the spectrum of what our companies can actually provide for our customers. So a lot of different things in there, but hopefully that helps you understand where we can always be better and where we are better today.
Definitely. And you touched on something that's it's recurring in many businesses and many B2B businesses is they're just not sure how to implement the right marketing tactics or marketing as it aligns to their sales team because sales is such an important pillar, as is marketing, but how do you make them, kind of work together? So you touched on a couple of different models, one where they kind of have the same reporting into structure, where they're reporting into the same maybe leader, so they're under the same domain and they have shared goals. That's one kind of model that I've seen work well because now there's a clear handoff and marketing might be driving top of the funnel, but that handoff in terms of the goals and making sure that there is follow up from sales for like the rest of the closing the funnel is there as well. So there's that like clear funnel and tracking for the two teams to work parallel together. But yeah, thank you for sharing that and a little bit more background too to how you mentioned, branding, collateral and all that because marketing does work in sort of a supporting fashion as well when it comes to sales. I don't say supporting. I like to say that it is teamwork at the end of the day.
And I think a lot of organizations are starting to realize that as we advance this concept of the customer journey, it's not just sales that is driving revenue for the organization. Marketing plays a significant role in forming the early parts of a customer journey. Sales is a lot of that middle part, and the one that we likely won't get an opportunity to touch on a lot in this conversation, nor would I say an expert is service. Like, that's
Mhm.
a huge component of the customer journey that can still be a revenue driver because we're not just about the initial sale to the customer, it's about the initial sale and every future sale that we can get as part of a lifelong partnership instead of just that one sale by itself.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. It is a collaborative effort. I want to go back really quickly. You mentioned brand materials or like branding in general, and I can't emphasize enough how important that brand perception is and putting everything that goes into or in front of your customer or into the kind of public sphere. Making sure that that is perceived strongly is so important. And that's something that, marketing definitely helps build and create, and sales helps to deliver.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to dive into a couple like sales specific questions and then sales and marketing questions. Because, like I said, you have a ton of experience. You have really great insights, tips, strategies. So I want to be able to share that with the world as well. So, when it comes to attracting new customers, what sales strategies have you used the most successfully?
It's a good question. And I don't know if this answer comes as a surprise, given we are advancing so much in technology and there's new mass mail systems, and we can get so many insights about our customers. We can provide the most relevant information that's available to them. But the one thing that hasn't changed, and I'm not sure if it ever will, is referrals is
Mm,
the best motion for new business. And I think everyone has a personal life example of this. You can check the internet for whatever you need, whether it be someone to cut your grass or someone to clean your house. But if you ask your neighbor and they provide you a suggestion, you're very likely to be going with that option. And the same nature of wanting to do that expands itself into our business lives as well. You can read every review, every 5+ star, every customer journey, but you have a close friend that's looking to do the same, that has done the same work, and they provide you with someone that got the job done for them, you're going to choose them to do business very likely as well.
for sure.
So we, as a sales model at Softchoice within our existing customer base, always try to provide that unbeatable level of service. So we can guarantee if someone does ask any of our customers who would they suggest for future work, we are always the name that comes out of their mouth. And we are fortunate at Softchoice because we do so many things. There never is just a sale. To our earlier conversation, our buying experience is always a long customer journey. So because
Yeah,
we bring in that attitude, we are constantly trying to not just do a temporary, unbeatable service to secure the deal. It's unbeatable marketing, it's unbeatable sales, it's unbeatable service. So that customer knows at any component, we are there with them along for the ride. And I think that is what helps us get as much referral business as we do.
and then, say some companies are a little bit on the smaller side. Are there any other sales tactics to that help drive net new business that you would kind of suggest?
Definitely. And it's becoming more and more difficult because the world is changing so quickly. If you went back 10, 15, 20 years ago, there wasn't as much information available online. So customers had to rely on sellers for guidance and advice. As information has become much more prevalent, customers are able to do a lot of that buying research on their own. And now I would even say we're at a point where customers can do so much research and are so confident that their solution that a lot of the vendors that we work with actually offer $100, $200, $250 gift cards just to get a prospect on the line to change their mind, to
Mm,
challenge them to see something differently. So that incentive model has become so popular, almost like a try and buy, but we are betting on the value of our product or service so much that you will try it, you will believe us, and then you will buy it down the line. But that is how we've transformed over the last 10, 15 years in our outreach model. Now,
yeah.
all that being said, the way that we communicate that is still very much the same as was 10, 15 years ago, with a few more channels added in. Prospecting at this point is realistically just it's trying to grab the attention of someone. So, like if you have that gift card, that's great. A customer might be interested, but you have to go through so many hoops just to get that message to them.
Hmm.
Email, cold calling, LinkedIn, texting, event invites, you name it. A sales rep will try, even going all the way down to snail mail is still used to just get a message in front of customers. And what makes the lives of the reps so difficult now is that we have maybe about a 5% connection rate. So across all those channels, across all that activity, maybe about 5% of that actually gets captured and digested by the prospect themselves. And that's why the relevance of that message is so important now. And we have access to so much information that we can make our message as relevant as possible. But if we can't articulate value in under 30 seconds of a prospect's time, you've probably lost them.
Yeah. 100%. Wow, you've outlined a ton there. I mean, one is offers and attention. Well, I would say attention is probably the number one currency. You can put offers into the market, but you need to prioritize having strong delivery and strong services and a strong product to back you up, because otherwise there's not going to be any result on the other side. And then grabbing attention through a ton of the different channels that's going to be the struggle, I think, going into 2026 and beyond, is attention. How do you get that? But really focusing on what the value is for that customer is key, like you said.
Absolutely. And I think you're right about 2026 and onwards. As we get better about using AI, the way that any company is able to digest all the available information from their databases, from LinkedIn, from public forums, and third-party applications like ZoomInfo, the relevance of our message is just going to get better and better and better. But it's also going to become better for your competitors.
Yeah.
So really and truly and honestly believing that the solution that you have is beneficial for your customer is going to lead to that level of persistence that you need to have, to your earlier point, to get their attention, because that's
Yeah.
the hardest thing to get.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, like, I like how you started with referrals too, because you're not going to get referrals if your product or your service is not delivering. And so I think there needs to be a level of confidence in your product, your service, to be able to then layer on all those additional, like, the tactics and beliefs that this is the best and we should have offers that might lose us money up front. Who knows? Like, give them $300 to join a phone call. But that confidence in the service and the delivery of it is so key to have up front.
Absolutely.
So, with that said, and we touched on some of this already, but in those new customer acquisitions, how has marketing contributed?
Yeah, so we have touched on it a little bit earlier on. And what marketing, especially for a company like Softchoice, because we're 500 plus sellers across the organization, it's very difficult for any individual within the team to get full insights as to what everyone is doing. But on that mass scale is where we can really start seeing patterns and trends and insights which decide customer behavior, and therein can be our biggest indicator for what should the next customer journey be. So that's where marketing can play a very important role in that, by bringing in the strategy of saying, we've seen across all of our customer base, say a couple thousand people, of where large organizations and mid-market organizations and SMB are investing their time and money. We have our leaders so that we can decide what the laggers and the other folks within the industry are going to be doing next. So helping by capturing that insights and deciding, or helping decide in partnership with sales about how we should attack the rest of the market, is something that marketing can bring into the equation.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Like, data is the backbone for any marketing segmentation or any type of marketing program. And that information needs to be fed into all the work that we do, but then also communicated with the different teams that we're collaborating with, sales being a big one.
Mhm.
So 100% hear you on that. So we chatted a little bit about new customers. Let's talk about existing customers. When it comes to, like, expanding business with existing accounts, what sales approaches have driven more growth?
So I'll steal from what I was just saying before about the importance of data, the importance of third-party insights, the importance of what we already know about our customers as we're deciding our next go-to-markets. With our existing customer base, that's the group we have the most information of and the most accurate information because we have firsthand data of everything that we are currently doing with them. So we
Yeah.
can use that so much better to decide how we should diversify within those accounts and expand into new business lines. And at an overall organization layer, these are the customers that we can start asking and having conversations about not just their pains today, which we are so frequently trying to solve for, but what are their pains for the next 3 to 5 years as they see them? Or even if we're really ahead of the game, educating them on what those
Yeah.
pains are going to be 3 to 5 years down the line. And effectively, we have this model where we are both solving their problems for today and working with our existing customer base to design our solutions in the future so we can help solve those problems down the road. That's the beauty about having a large customer base is that we get to learn with them
Hmm.
and expand our solution based on that. So yeah, there's a lot that we can pull from the existing customer base to make ourselves better for them down the road.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is obviously beyond continuing to deliver excellence when it comes to the services and insights, it's also delivering, yeah, some more information, being like thinking about the 3-year roadmap. What is it that they're going to need and helping like guide that for them or providing them with more insights to how to get there.
Absolutely. Like my reps will always tell you I make too many comparisons to dating, but I do because everyone understands it. And the customers that you're working with today are effectively the marriages. And if you're in a marriage with me, maybe fortunately, maybe unfortunately, but you are having conversations in a marriage about the day-to-day stuff, but you're always looking ahead for the future. Like, is the house too big? Like, what are we going to do about kids down the road? You know, how many kids are we planning for? How does it affect our living situation? So those conversations are just so much more deep, which means two things. You have to have that higher level of trust with each other. And you get there by doing a couple things. Constant touch. Like every single person in your life has always told you the key to a successful relationship is communication. It's the same key to a successful business relationship with your customers. Communication beyond just what you're talking about today and extending that into all the problems they see, even if they know or not that you can be the solution for them. So that constant touch, and then honestly trying to get beyond just the surface level pains of the business that they're doing, getting beyond the financial burden, but understanding the personal attachment that those people have within their jobs. Are they looking to get
Mhm.
promoted? Is this something that is like a keystone project that even though they don't have approval from the senior leadership, they want to get done? Like, what does that look like, and how are you helping the customers contacts on a more personal level beyond just that business relationship? So
Yeah, that's a really good point. Is it's not just obviously the relationships matter, but it's not just focusing on the business growth, but also the personal growth with the person you're working with. Okay. And then same kind of question as it relates to expanding business. How has marketing supported account expansion?
right. So we talked about the data points earlier. So making recommendations based on what they understand. It's that two heads are better than one type of scenario and why sales and marketing need to collaborate. Sales gets one vision of a customer, but it's always beneficial to have that second one making suggestions about other ways that we can be supporting the customer. The other thing that has had a lot of value, like again, going back to we are trying to date our customers, is providing those events, those reasons to be together, those excuses to have face-to-face time and get to know people. Our event marketing team, we work with a lot of vendors to make sure those happen on a very consistent basis, and that provides the excuses for us to have face-to-face time with our customers. So those two components are huge aspects of it. taking the data to provide details around content or campaigns or things that we should be floating in front of those customers, and then giving us the opportunities to get face to face with them as well.
Yeah. And it sounds like I'll rephrase a little bit, but the whole relationship analogy really does make sense because you want to be in person. Those events are super important. I see that with many of the different clients that we have is you get somebody in person, that relationship expands 10 times versus having 50 touch points that are all digital. So I see that. And it sounds like the insights that you drive as well can probably feed into some content that marketing can create. And maybe that builds into a report or something that's even more tangible to help your clients plan better for the future as well.
Absolutely. It's a much more complicated world now. It used to be a situation where if you needed a widget, you went to the grocery store or the hardware store or the whichever store, and there was one of that widget, and everyone had the same widget. Today, there's 100 different versions of that widget and 100 different people selling it at the same time. So there's very rarely a situation where you are exclusively and the only person that can help solve the customer's problem. And a lot of times they're basing their decision on who they want to work with who can they trust, who is going to sell this widget. And then if, you know, 30, 60, 90, 120 days down the line, there's an issue, who can they count on for continued support? Who can they
Yeah.
support? Who can they count on to point them in the right direction on this one as well? So that trust that we're talking about is so critical to the success of any business relationship, customer, buyer, marketing, sales, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. I'm going to add in like a little bit of what I've seen as well be successful from just leveraging existing customer input information, but case studies and repurposing those with new clients or prospects. The other is finding those pain points that are like the commonalities. That's exactly what you just mentioned in terms of using the data. Like, what do we see recurring? How can we plan for the future? Building content around that. That could be webinars, that could be workshops, that could be events. Those could be assessments and offers that you put in front of the customers or prospects because if they're happening over and over again, that more people are or more businesses are, effectively dealing with the same pain point.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And it's not we think about buying decisions as if they're so complicated. They're not. They're done because there's a pain, and the solution to that pain will either increase revenue or decrease costs. It can be a pain as it impacts employees' time. It can be a pain in terms of impact on employee experience or impact on customers, but really 4 or 5 categories to address pain. And then the other side that we see quite commonly, as there's a lot of advances in security and requirements around it, is a big reason why customers make buying decisions is they have to. They don't have a
Yeah.
choice. And so we can always track down a buying purpose to a few selection of things. And that's, I think, to your early point, where marketing can help out. So industry insights about when that they have to moment is going to happen. So for us, it's if there's going to be changes in the NIST framework or zero trust framework for our security customers and informing us in advance of those so we can start having conversations early. That helps us be that trusted consultative partner for our customers.
Yeah. And be that like the source of internal communications is really important as well. And so marketing is continuously collaborating with so many different team members, whether that's services, sales, customer success, understanding what's working or what's coming down the pipeline and internally communicating that is super important, almost just as important as putting material together and having, the sales team or any of that material go public. So internal and like you said, just feeding insights is super, super important.
Incredibly.
Okay. So like I said, let's dive back into some sales tactics. So what are your top 3 actionable tips for B2B sales reps pitching products or services? Something tangible that they can take away and use today.
And in the context of this question, is it through cold calling or is it through a ongoing customer engagement?
Just like what's something that they need to keep in mind? So you said already, like bring the value out,
Sure.
understand the true value of whatever it is you're pitching and believe in it. Like that, I would say is a really big one.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Practice and believe your pitch. There's a fun exercise that you actually exposed me to that I ran with my team, and it's a quick, very simple 3 questions. What is unique about the company that you work for? Like, what are your unique value prop things you can take to customers? What makes you special and good at what you do? And then the second question is, prove it. How do you know? And then the third one was, how is it relevant for our customer base? And everyone was able to get good answers for question 1. Some people struggled with question 2.
Hmm.
And recognizing that difference can help understand why their pitching had been unsuccessful. Because you do really need to believe. Like I said, there's so many other companies out there that are selling the same things as you, and there's just so many more options. And if they hear any shred of doubt in your voice, like I said, you've got maybe 30 to 60 seconds to really convince them. If there's a shred of doubt that's in there, you've lost the customer. So practicing and believing in your pitch is critically important. The other side of it, we talk about objections a lot when it comes to salespeople.
Yeah.
There's really not very many objections that you're going to face. It sounds like a big and scary word, but it's going to be, we don't have the money, we don't have the time, we already have a trusted partner. There's maybe a couple more, but that will comprise about 80 to 90% of the objections that you get. So have a prepared response for that. And it makes you that much more confident for those conversations and more prepared, because objections is one of those things that scares a lot of first-time sales reps from going into that pitch and believing in that pitch, is that they know that they're going to get an objection, but don't know how to handle it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last thing, like I said earlier, relationship buying is still a big thing. So have fun. Crack a joke. Sometimes the weirdest things will work with prospects because, again, you are there to get their attention. And if you come in reading a very basic script about what your value prop is, you're going to sound like a robot. Customer's not going to be interested. They're going to say, I get cold calls like these every day and it's never something of value to me. So like I said, have fun, try and get them to laugh, try and say something that they haven't heard before to get their attention, and for them to say, okay, you cracked me up today. I'll give you 30 seconds to tell me why you're calling.
I love that. You got to show you're human at the end of the day. And remember that these people are probably being pitched to so many times. Was there a funny thing that you've said that has worked or that has resonated?
Mine was pretty vulgar when I was cold calling back in the day, but I would effectively say, hello, this is Alex Pepper, and then I would give the prospect the permission to either kindly tell me to, F off, or give me 30 seconds to tell them why I'm calling. And, sometimes I did get told to F off, but a lot of times I got to laugh, I got to chuckle, at least an agreement to give me about 30, 60 seconds to tell them why I'm calling.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, you
Just
definitely wouldn't expect somebody to say that right up front. Love it. Okay, thank you for that. I think that those are so key when anybody is like pitching, and the objections. Like I love how you kind of summarize it into 3, and they are those 3 big buckets, and that's even something that I was working on that you've definitely helped a ton. So being prepared for all your potential objections up front, also a great tip. Okay, we're coming down to the last 2 questions. The next one is around, so beyond like revenue targets, what other measurements are you looking at to gauge the success of your team?
good question, because we approach metrics as lagging indicators and leading indicators, just common terminology used in sales. And driving revenue is certainly a lagging indicator. It is the consequence of all the activities that we can control on a day-to-day basis. So the metrics that are typically most important to us are more on those leading indicators. So it is, you can't have revenue without opportunities and projects, and you can't create opportunities and projects without meetings with customers and prospects. And you can't get those meetings if you're not being active. So account touch is very, very important to us. What's the frequency with which in your existing buying accounts you are having meetings and appointments? Like I said, dating. I don't think we would have ever ended up in a marriage if I just for a week decided I wasn't going to talk to you at all. So that consistent touch and
Right.
dialogue with our active buying accounts is very important. And it's the same thing with our prospects. It can't be, we really believe in this message, so I'm going to send you one email and call you once and then give up on it. It's got to be persistent and multi-channel. So we track as well as we can. Are you connecting with this prospect with email, with call? Are you inviting them to events? Have you done LinkedIn connection requests? Have you done a LinkedIn email? Have you sent a voice note? Trying to track as much as we can because we know that multi-channel is the best way of getting a customer's attention. So those are the buying accounts. It's bi-weekly touch, and with prospects, it's just hard activity. Are we working hard to get their attention? Those are all the leading indicators. Meetings, as you can probably guess, is the
Of
most
course.
important currency to driving opportunities and revenue after that.
Right on. And you're actively measuring this on like a weekly, a monthly basis, all of it.
Don't tell my reps this, but I look at it daily to see what
Oh,
things have happened over the course of the last 24 hours. So we try and stay up on top of it pretty consistently.
all right. Well, your team's pretty successful. So obviously those leading indicators are working. Last but not least, how do you think or how has AI changed sales and the way that, sales does sales, let's just say?
And that is a fantastic question. And we are constantly learning new ways that it's going to. Softchoice has been involved with Copilot through Microsoft for quite a while now. It's been deployed out to all members of all teams. So every salesperson currently has license for Copilot to get their hands on and start getting dirty with it. We're seeing its utility in a lot of different ways and ways that you would imagine. So, like if I was to think about the public sector team, for example, they are answering a lot of RFPs and RFIs, of which there's always going to be a request for a customer reference story.
Mm,
And it's very difficult for reps to go through the database of customer stories to try and find something very closely aligned to the RFP that they are answering. With Copilot, within a week or two, we were able to build an agent that does exactly that. So now it's a very simple, copy and paste of brief details of what's been outlined in the RFP and a request for customer reference stories based on a very large database of success stories from the past.
yeah.
And it's amazing to see how quickly things are moving. So that's just an example of how you can take a small problem that affected a large group of people and then build an application that cuts down time requirements for that work by like 90%.
Substantially.
We can
Yeah.
now build cadences that so email and call cadences out for 4 weeks, and we can do that very quickly by putting in, what is the customer problem, what is the desired solution, what is the go-to-market that we'd like to attach, and what is the specific industry and company size that we would be targeting with this. And then, boom, you have a full cadence over the course of a 2 week that you can supply to a sales team for them to carry out. So there's a ton of ways that AI is going to make the life of a salesperson significantly easier. I mean, on top of which, we talking earlier about how do we collect data and insights. Now it's not a
Yeah.
person manually pulling all those reports together and tying them with our own admin effort. It's a large language model that can put together all that information and then present it back based on the customers that you have in your territory. So the sky really is the limit on this technology, and being able to harness it as quickly as possible for it to be a competitive advantage is going to be critical for any business. You don't want to be behind the curve on this because it's basically this a rare opportunity that we can go from crawling to running. We can
Yeah.
skip that walking phase. We're deployed enablement across the entire org, across 2 to 3 months for everyone to become experts within Copilot. And I think it's a fantastic move to ensure that our teams have success and are, to my earlier point, finding new ways of leveraging it to solve problems. Because this is one of those areas where it's scary to think that sometimes we don't even know what problems it can solve, and we got to figure it
Right.
out.
Yeah, those are some really great examples, like saving time and efficiencies, getting insights to your team and yourselves and the company much faster, maybe even a little bit more accurate, who knows? But I feel like it's going to continue to expand. I'm definitely going to keep track of what's to come. Thank you so much for sharing all of these insights and your tips and your time. Regardless, I was going to steal your time anyways because I know where you live. But thank you so much again. And I think, there's even more opportunity to dig deeper into how marketing and sales can collaborate on different levels, whether it be like for a specific campaign or even just focused on existing customers and how they work together to expand new business. But for the time being, we'll close off. Thank you again. And I look forward to continued conversations.
Me as well. Thank you very much for the time and inviting me out to this. It was a lot of fun. Sometimes it's just so much fun to verbalize where we are in this industry with AI and marketing and sales collaboration because I don't know, there's so much that we can be doing together. So I'm so excited for everything to come.
Awesome. All right. Thank you.